Hello and welcome back to the GT3 Masters as presented by netracingeurope.com. This is the 2013 Championship and this is round 3 of the Championship, and we've just seen race 4 of the Championship. We've got 2 races here today, just as we had 2 races at Curitiba, so that was race 4 of the Championship. We're about to watch race 5. Before that we've got qualifying 2 coming up, and hopefully we won't go through that without any problems. I do apologise for the problems that beset us in race 1 throughout there, but in race 1 we saw a masterclass from Sebastian Hauer. He was the driver who put a teaching to the rest of the field. Dudinsky was able to keep pace somewhat, but it really wasn't able to challenge for the race win at all. Sebastian Hauer started on the front row, took the lead at the first corner, and from there was never headed. So that's his second win of the season from 4 races, the reigning champion. Really beginning to step it up here, even though he had 21 kilos of weight on board. Also, a good performance from Matthias Fish, who finished in 4th, and Abraham, who finished 3rd also. Although Aladish was somewhat mixed, you would say, and he took a 5th spot after a couple of mistakes, and also he had no weight on board. So this was the sort of event where you thought Aladish would be able to mount a strong challenge and take a couple of wings and take some excellent points, but it's not been the case. Kovalik finished in 6th, with Rybak in 7th and Wyden in 8th. With the eventful race for Carlsen in 9th spot, went from 6th to 12th to 10th to 12th to 9th, and round at the top 10 was Behrens as well. He kept a solid run throughout that. So we're into qualifying 2 now, so let's get on board with the action and show you what's happening on circuit at the moment. As their drivers are now leaving, this is another 30-minute race coming up after this qualifying session. This qualifying session only has 10 minutes to run, and what happens in this qualifying session is that you'll find that drivers have 2 laps. They have an out lap, 2 hot laps, and an in lap. You must complete at least 1 hot lap throughout this session. They also have to complete their in lap also as well, but it's like Super Bowl, except you get 2 chances and everybody of course is out on the track with you also at the same time. So 2 chances throughout here. Watching Anderson at the moment, he's out on track, about to start his flying lap. He's down towards this final corner. We talked about how bumpy this track was, how much camber there was also, and also those high curves, especially in these particular cars, low ride height and stiffly sprung. All about aerodynamics in these GT cars. And Anderson's about to start his run. He finished in 11th spot, if I remember correctly, in the first race, ahead of Meisner, who finished in 12th, who saw a spectacular spin. Well, only I saw they had a spectacular spin because unfortunately we had problems with the broadcast, and I do apologise for all those. And hopefully race 2 will be much cleaner. You'll see much more action throughout also. Down towards the hairpin comes Anderson. So Kovalik make a mistake there in qualifying, ruining his second run. He ended up qualifying 8th as a result. He went back to 10th and then fought his way back up to 6th spot. And bumpy throughout this circuit, as we were saying. So bad in a touring car, you would imagine, but in a GT car, it really throws the car around. Out of several corners and into several corners, the car will really shake on its front end. On board with Anderson. More bumps through here. Behrens goes pole at the moment with an 18.9. Anderson is 2/10 under that. We saw a pole position with 17.3 from Uzinski in the first race, first qualifying session. The 17.6 from Hauer, good enough for second place on the front row alongside Uzinski. And Anderson goes to an 18.633, beats Behrens by 3/10 of a second. Let's check out what Sebastian Hauer is doing out on track at the moment. Oh, Anderson is the brother to the other Anderson. Matthias Fish has gone to pole with an 18.1 at the moment. That's a decent lap for him. Sebastian Hauer is about to... Oh, we've actually lost Sebastian Hauer. Where's Sebastian Hauer? He's 8th spot at the moment, sorry. Try and get back to Sebastian Hauer. There we go. Everyone going through the circuit, so as I jump through, they'll jump up just as I go back to the drivers, and I can't get their readings. But Sebastian Hauer, here he is half a second up on Fish, so he's on course to at least equal his qualifying 1 time. And here comes the reigning champion in his Corvette. 17.525 for Hauer, so he's improved on his first qualifying session by a 10th. But that is still 2/10 of what Uzinski managed in the first qualifying session. Let's stick with Hauer now. Uzinski, is he out of track at the moment? He is. He's about to start a flying lap. So let's stick with Hauer, see whether he can improve on his second flying lap here. Those bumps out of the turn, down towards the hairpin. Hard braking zone as Carl's just getting out of the way. He's qualified 5th at the moment. Look for him to drop down the order though, because he's going to get another lap in being on the grass like that. And Hauer is just a smidgen of his first flying lap time. Makes it way around the rest of the circuit. Characterised by those 2 long turns onto fast straights. That's the final corner, of course, it's exactly like that, and that corner there in the midfield is just the same. And now here comes Hauer to the second split. He is up by the thinnest margin. 17.525 is the time he has to beat. And the bumps as they go into the final corner. Not quite hitting the apex, running quite wide there, and looks like it's a bit out of shape. Might have cost him a 10th or 2, but did he have enough momentum? It's going to be in a 17.8.39, so that's final corner really cost Sebastian Hauer. So what could Uzinski do? Uzinski's in 16th place at the moment, hasn't qualified, hasn't had a qualifying time yet, so it's half a second down on Hauer. In fact, heading into that final turn, but look how much neater he was than Hauer on his second lap. That's the way to do that final corner. And it's 18.013 from Uzinski, puts him 3rd at the moment behind Aladish. So Aladish has a better qualifying at the moment. Abraham has still to set a lap time. He qualified 3rd, Fish is 4th, 5th is Freeback, with 6th Anderson. Whereas Kovalik set a lap time also. He's in 18th. So stick on board, stay with Uzinski. He's gone very deep there into the hairpin. Maybe got it back. No, he's going to lose time. And the sector split is right in the middle there of the hairpin. And he looked like he was slow off the hairpin also, so look for a slower middle sector as well, unless he manages to pull off something special through these corners. Bringing it for all his worth to show that pole position was no fluke. The back stepped out also. He goes past the traffic. What will the split be? I don't think it's going to be good. Oh, it's a 10th down. It's only a 10th down, so he was actually faster than Hauer. Now into the final corner he comes. The turn where Hauer struggled, we saw in qualifying 2 and also in qualifying 1 as well. There's Hauer in it, so the rivals in the pits as Uzinski sets his final lap time. He's 2nd. Oh, by the smallest margin, 6/100ths of a second. Uzinski is behind his great rival for this race, Sebastian Hauer. So it's a front row once again of Uzinski and Hauer at the moment. Depends, of course, what other people can do. Abraham's out on track. And he's only 2/10 down at the moment on Sebastian Hauer. He's having a great run here today, is Abraham. He flies into the final corner. Always run very deep indeed. I'm not sure he's going to benefit from that in the exit. Obviously gained on the entry. Where would Kovalik go? Kovalik goes 16th at the moment. So he is in trouble here. If he doesn't set a good lap time this time around, he hasn't set a banker the first time around. Abraham has though, he's in 4th spot. He's not ahead of Aladish at the moment, and looks like he's run a bit wide there into turn 2. Fish is 5th, that's better qualifying than he did last time around, where he qualified in 7th spot. But Kovalik is the big story at the moment. Let's go on board with him. Winner of the second race at Charisma, finished 6th in the first race. He's 3/10 down here, but of course, now he can't push 110% on his second flying lap because he can't afford to make a big mistake. So he's going to qualify much lower down than he would hope, one would imagine. Gets the car nicely in through that long right-hander though. Onto this back straight, flying this fast right-hander. Full commitment through there. And switch back across once again. Try and clip the apex. It looks decent from Kovalik. It is decent from Kovalik. He's faster than the pole through that second sector. So he's really hooking it together here as Kovalik. Just keeps it up. He can be on that second row ahead of Aladish and Abraham. Oh, he's trying so hard at the final corner. So is Abraham. And Kovalik, he goes 5th. He's just not able to sneak onto that second row. And Abraham has not improved either. Saw him pushing very hard. So that's 4th place for Abraham. I think everyone's completed their qualifying laps now. Let's quickly check back through the field just in case there are people remaining. Bastian Hauer on pole. No, it looks like we've got everybody finished off. Yeah, indeed we have. Yeah, everybody's back into the pit, so that is the order you've got. Sebastian Hauer and Derek Uzinski with Aladish and Abraham once again. Double A making up that second row, but this time Aladish is ahead of Abraham with Kovalik and Fish once again alongside each other, but one row further up this time with Fish in 6th. He qualified 1 position better than previously, where Kovalik has qualified 3 positions better. We're back around about the same area he qualified in the first qualifying session. From 6th to 7th he goes. Anderson up there once again. Hagman with a good qualifying session in 9th. Walensky hoping for better luck this time around. He qualified 10th with Carlson 11th and Schumacher in 12th with Behrens 13th, Wyden 14th, 15th Becker, 16th Shalonka, and rounding out the 17 is the other Anderson. Now while we're waiting for the drivers to go into their warm-up session, let's just run you through this circuit. We've been talking about it quite a lot, how difficult it can be, and it's all action, as Sven Kovalik will show you.
So welcome to Ruapuna. We are going down the main straight, approaching turn 1 with around 150 kilometers. That's the apex here, in 5th gear, down to 2nd gear. And early accelerating. Very fast left-hander. Still 4th gear, down to 75 meters, and down to 1st gear. Very slippery point here. 2nd gear, slippery again, and again. 3rd gear, down to 2nd gear. Very difficult corner. Up to 4th gear. I hate this here. 3rd gear and down to 2nd gear. Accelerating to 4th gear. Braking at 50 meters. And 2nd gear. And accelerating again. Yes, 1 lap in Ruapuna. Have fun.
So welcome back to the action here from the 3rd round of the GT3 Masters 2013 Championship from netracingeurope.com. We saw Sebastian Hauer put on a great show in the first race, taking a commanding win from Derek Uzinski. 3rd place Abraham, 4th place Fish, and 5th place was Steb Aladish. So we're in the 2nd qualifying session now. Sebastian Hauer has again put on the front row, but this time he's on pole position ahead of Uzinski, so swap there. Also swap between Aladish and Abraham, 3rd and 4th. So the 4th and 3rd last time around, while Fish and Kovalik have swapped around as well, although they are still on the same row. They're on the 3rd row, last time they were on the 4th row together. So drivers obviously finding teammates and mates around here to run with. I'm sure they're not mates on track though, we're all looking to beat each other. Let's go into this warm-up session now. We've got around about 3 or 4 minutes to go in this session. We're watching Abraham at the moment have a great podium finish in race 1. Let's go on board with him. We saw him pushing very hard in that qualifying session. Let's see if we can get a good camera angle here for you to have a good lap on board around the Ruapuna. that's some excellent action there from Matthias Abraham. Which is very, very hard around the circuit, as you can see. It's definitely a crowd-pleasing style that he has. I do apologise for calling Matthias Abraham all the way throughout. Of course, he is Marcel. Not Matthias is, of course. I'm confused, but it isn't Marcel Abraham. I do apologise for calling that throughout the race. You can tell the two cars apart between Abraham and Aladish. Abraham has the red and yellow flashes on the car, whereas red and white for Steve Aladish, as you can see here. Swap around. Here is Ryback. He's driving as a teammate to Matthias Fish. Did a good job in the first race, coming home in 7th spot. Nice and solid. So not long to go now before we go into the race. A couple of just a few minutes time, then we'll have a formation lap and a standing start. Always love a standing start. Lots of excitement. Trying to get their cars away from the grid. Round we saw a good start from Howard and Osinski, quite level, but Howard dove for the inside at the first turn, and Howard took the lead of the race, and then on, really a procession for Sebastian Howard, took complete control of this Ruapuna track. One would suggest we're going to see much of the same this race here. Now, we're about to the race here now. This is just before we go on to the grid. Drivers will form up. I'm going to have to bet on Sebastian Howard being the driver who takes the second win here and make it 2 wins from 2 on this weekend. Drivers are now forming up on the grid. You can see the qualifying times just rolling through there. 17 drivers on track. Only a small track though, so doesn't matter too much. Grid they go for their formation lap. Not too excited just yet. Howard, the only one there weaving around actually, in fact, which is unusual. The driver who decided that weaving is keeps it off the start. Drivers make their way through. Wonderful circuit, very underrated track is the Ruapuna circuit. Lots of bumps and banking as we've been talking about. Some high curves also. Very challenging, especially in these cars. They're very quick. And it's quite a tight circuit. It's not particularly suited to these cars. So it's made for some excellent action. As they make their way through the infield. There's that right-hander that you can take very, very quickly indeed. And you're going to go the car straight across the track with the left hand to compromise out what you can do at that right hand. The feature of this track is those pylons go throughout the circuit. Sebastian Howard coming around to the end of the lap now. One of those fast right and then have to get the car back across the track once again for a left-hander section. And then he goes straight into this final corner, the bumpy braking zone. Lots of camber as well, very, very fast. Got plenty of runoff, very tempting to use all that runoff. We saw a couple of drivers in the wall. In fact, we saw Aladish in the wall when he was chasing Fish earlier in the race. Because Fish ran right to the limit of the wall. Of course, as you're driving behind, you're trying to push to past them. And you push that a little bit harder. And it was Aladish who just tapped the wall, nothing major. But it is one of the issues here. Nice and wide here at the start line though. Lots of the corners are one-liners, so it's difficult to make a pass. The field is now forming up. Sebastian Howard there on your left. On your right is Uzinski. Third and fourth there, Aladish and Abraham. Reps are starting to rise. 3 lights are on, 4 lights are on. And 4 lights are on, away we go, it's a poor start, that's how it is in the background. It was a poor start indeed, he's going to get monstered by the rest of the group. Howard not off to the greatest start, he's covered the inside already on Uzinski. Uzinski's going to try and sweep it around the outside. Oh, here comes Abraham also. No, he's not going to make the move stick. But first is Howard, second is Uzinski. There he is. Third spot is Abraham. Where is Aladiz? He's only fifth, so fifth isn't too bad. Look at the start from Anderson. Surely he jumped the start of the race. He's come up loads of positions. Qualified in there, 8th I believe. To 4th already. 5th spot for Aladiz. 6th spot for Carlson. What's happened to Kovalik? Kovalik's had a poor start to the race once again. Where is Kovalik? I'm searching for him in the background. I can't quite see him. Kovalik is around here somewhere. There is Schumacher in 10th. 12th spot there is Meisner. Where is Kovalik? 14th spot is Fish. So something's happened between Kovalik and Fish. No doubt about that. We're watching the leaders, but something's happened between Fish and Kovalik. Let's go back to the start of the race. We're now on replay. Let's rewind back to that was Chalon kicking it out on the grass. Oh, here we are. Here is a replay of the start. Where is Kovalik? Kovalik is nowhere to be seen, in fact. Even make the start of the race. I'm not quite sure. But here's, oh, and that was right back into his teammate. Down the inside, oh, there we go. Down the inside of Anderson he went, and into Fish. And there is the contact, and the two teammates. That will not make for a good post-race debriefing. Oh, Hagman involved also. Where is Kovalik? I believe Kovalik perhaps has joined me in the commentary booth right now. Is that you, Sven?
Yeah, hi, it's me. I got a connection loss.
Oh, connection loss. That's a big shame for you. But drama on the track between the two teammates, as we saw, and off the track also went Behrens as well. Back to live action, but we saw Fish and Ryback come together. How do you think that's going to go?
I don't know how it happened. I got a connection loss. I qualified better than in the first race. And, yeah, it was very promising for me, but yeah,
when
no
did you get
comment.
connection loss? Was it just at the start or the warm up, or what happened?
I think it was the second between.
So that's a big shame. And of course, you did have a good run in the second race after qualifying quite poorly and having a poor first lap as well. But so lots of points lost for today. But of course, you can fight back. You know, at round 4. And of course, you did, as Berno, in fact, isn't it, round 4? So you can come back there and without any weight, of course, as well. So that will be a big help for yourself. How was the weight today? Was it difficult holding the weight?
I feel the weight already. It was just 35 kilo, I think.
Yeah.
But it gave me 3/10 or so per lap. And it was not so easy with less fuel. It was much easier than with a full fuel tank. But I'm happy now that this track has finished now for me. I'm looking to running.
What do you think of this track?
Yeah, the track is, first of all, it's very challenging for each driver, even if you drive alone.
Yeah, we see lots of mistakes from drivers.
If you have to fight where the Buster right now is, I'm looking between.
Yeah.
The right-left-hander combination is so tricky, and the long right corner where the Buster now is so tricky and slippery. You are sliding all the way.
We see lots and lots of bumps here as well.
Yeah, the bumps in turn 1 are horrible.
Yeah. And turn 1 reminds me of Owen Palmer with that kick, and then of course it tightens up even more, but you have to do the braking kind of after the kick, and you see lots of drivers steering straight off there.
Yeah, there's a slight thing before the real turn 1, but more important, I don't know if you see it in the screen, there's a slight banking on the inside of turn 1, and you have to
we just saw it just then, yeah.
Yeah, you have to add this banking, and it will make you off.
Okay, thanks Sven, thanks for joining us, and hopefully you have better race at the next round. Okay, so Sebastian Hauer here is under a big attack here from Darek Uzinski. Darek is not letting Sebastian Hauer get away like he did in the first race. Hauer got a big gap almost immediately in the first race. This time around we're seeing Uzinski keeping Hauer under close attention, not letting him out of his sight. And Uzinski looks like he's hungry. They see the body language almost of that car. Of course, there is no body on the car, but the body language of that car is sliding around, it's aggressive, he's pushing into corners. He really wants to put Hauer, should I say, under pressure. And he's all the curb also as well. Much more aggressive here from Rosinski in this race. He wants that win. He got second place, and by a decent margin at second place in the first race. And I think he fancies his chances here of putting Hauer under pressure. Hauer, of course, is holding 21 kilos on board that car, more than Rosinski is. And although he didn't harm in the first race, saw a mistake there from Rosinski into the final corner. That's given Rosinski a bigger gap to make up now, and Hauer setting the fast lap of the race once again, 17.494. But Rosinski would have matched that, wasn't that mistake at the final corner. And we see Hauer got slightly deep into the first turn. So very interesting stuff at the start, at the front of the field, should I say. And Aladish, I think, here has got past Abraham. I think that is Aladish pass. So Aladish is up to third spot now. Yes, there he is. So he will look to march forward, I'm sure. He will definitely want Rosinski and Hauer to fight. In fact, he wants Rosinski to pass Hauer even if he can't get up to those guys, because Hauer, of course, is the big championship rival. Rosinski's been doing well at the championship, but not performed as well as Sebastian Hauer. So I'm sure he will appreciate it if Rosinski gets past Sebastian Hauer also. So look out for that. And Abraham is pulling away. Aladish is pulling away from Abraham. We saw they were level pretty much coming across the start line, but look at the gap that Aladish has on Abraham already. That's several tenths of a second. In fact, it is 7 tenths of a second, the gap between the two teammates. And Aladish really has got to get the bit between his teeth and get going here. He needs to get a better result. Talked about it in the first race. You just cannot have these races where you have no weight, you don't get good results. In races where you have no weight, you have to get good results, else you're going to be in trouble in the championship when you do have weight on board on the car. So Hauer leads from Rosinski. Rosinski has brought that gap back down, and Aladish is matching Hauer at the moment, but of course he needs to do better than that. There's no point whatsoever matching Sebastian Hauer. He needs to beat Sebastian Hauer's lap time, because the gap will just stay the same, of course. Look back to the field. 4th place is Abraham. 5th place is Anderson. With 6th place is Hagman. Hagman having a great run so far in 6th spot. Saw him in all kinds of trouble in the first race, but having a great run here at the moment. 7th spot here is Meisner, and this is a healthy battle. This is Meisner holding off Carlson. So these two together a little bit in the first race. Carlson just putting Meisner under pressure, letting him know he's there. But Wyden in 10th spot, so the role reversed between Hagman and Wyden. Those two were, Wyden was the one who took the 8th spot in the first race and did well, and Hagman was the one struggling back in about 14th, I think he finished in the first race, if I remember correctly. So Wyden this time was the one who struggling in 10th, but I say struggling. 10th spot is still pretty close to his 8th spot, so he was pleased by that. Last lap of the race from Rosinski. Let's get back towards the front of the field. Where is Rosinski? There is Rosinski. He's right alongside Sebastian Hauer. He's challenging for the lead around the outside. This is going to be a great run down towards turn 3. And there goes Hauer. There goes Rosinski. He's in the lead of the race. So Rosinski leads. Hauer has been usurped. He's had it all his own way in the first race. He's had it all his own way in the start of his second race. But now he's been challenged by Rosinski. And Rosinski is through to the lead. Rosinski's self-confidence is obviously rising with every lap that goes by. He saw that he could almost match Sebastian Hauer in the first race, perhaps made a couple of changes to his setup, and got more aggressive, definitely driving more aggressively here, and his aggressive driving has earned him that top spot at the moment. So Rosinski leads from Hauer. He's going up for the books. Back now from Rosinski. Always driver ahead of Sebastian Hauer, who's the reigning champion, remember, taking 2 wins in 4 races. Sebastian Hauer finished in 2nd place. I'm sure he won't be too disappointed by that, because it puts him in a strong position in the championship. And of course, he does have 21 kilos of weight on board, so to finish in 2nd spot with that kind of weight on board is still a good performance. But he's keeping Rosinski on. As we saw in the second half of the race, though, that Rosinski was not able to keep pace with Sebastian Hauer in the first race. So look out for that. Maybe lap 7. Close as you've seen the battle for the race win all weekend, really, all round. And look how much Rosinski is attacking this circuit. I hope he's attacking it within his means, because that is a sort of driver that doesn't lead to mistakes. So really, I hope that Rosinski just tone himself back in a little bit, make sure he doesn't make those kind of mistakes, not clipping the curb that time around that corner, but he has been doing quite a few times. Pretty right time wide, used all of that all the curb, they're using plenty of the curb. We saw Sebastian Howard not even touching the curb out there. And drivers who not touch the curb on the exit of that corner can just slows you up that big curb on the left-hand side. You don't want to be touching that. And oh, there comes Sebastian Howard right back on Osinski. Right on these back bumper, he's coming. Osinski, perhaps driving a bit too aggressively. I wonder if he's going to harm his tyres later in the race by driving so aggressively. But Howard just keeping steady, he's not diving in the way, he's not poking his nose where it's not welcome. He's just letting know he's there, running his mirrors with that bright yellow Corvette. Aladish is losing ground to the leaders. 4 seconds now is the gap, lost 6 tenths of a second over the last few laps. So although he's close to the biggest pace, he's not quite there. It's a different matter, of course, if he was up with the leaders, he would be in the slipstream. But the fact is, he's 4 seconds back, and really, he has not much hope of making a move for the win or down the inside. Talk of making a move, Sebastian Howard, that was, and he obviously didn't agree with that move himself. Let's look back on that replay. So as they came around, Sebastian, I think he just broke a bit too late. Broke far too late, and had to dive down the inside, else he would have just taken Osinski straight out of the race. He lets Osinski straight back through once again, so supporting driving there Sebastian Howard. That's nice to see. Nice to see respect between these two. And Osinski will also, of course, appreciate that, and he will obviously bear that in mind later in the race. As a driver, as myself, if somebody goes on the inside of you like that, and it's unfair, but keeps the position right back once again, you feel immediately that it's absolutely okay and everything's hunky-dory. And if someone makes a dive later in the race, you're a bit more friendly to them, in fact. And so that could work in Sebastian Howard's favour later in the race. But Aladish has gained 8 tenths of a second because of that. So Aladish will be liking that kind of battling, and he'll want that battling to continue. Make another mistake, please, boys. And of course, he needs another 4 mistakes like that before he can even get on the back of this group. So, Aladish in 3rd. 4th place is Abraham, so he's not lapping as quickly as Aladish in this race. We've seen some changes in performance, no doubt about that, between the 2 races. Osinski is much quicker, Howard's pretty much the same, Aladish is much quicker, but Anderson's much quicker, and so is Hagman as well. Great performance from both of those two, especially after their first race troubles. Here is Anderson. And here is Hagman. Battle. Carlson's got past Meisner. Meisner dropped back once again as we watch a battle for the lead. So Carlson Schumacher's into 8th spot. Despite what the name says, he is actually from Switzerland. So he's doing well in that BMW. We saw him often in 14th spot in the first race. I made a quip about him being 14th spot quite a lot. And then he made a mistake and dropped to 15th. So I won't make a quip about him being 8th place this time around. 9th place is the other Mercedes SLS of Richard Weiden. So he's come up from 10th to 9th, but it's Sebastian Meisner who has dropped out of that battle. He's now in 10th spot. Saw him, he runs well, but then it seems to make mistakes and drop back once again. So Meisner perhaps needs to work a bit on his consistency. Well, 11th spot is Ryback, making that recovery after taking out his own teammate while making contact with Anderson. I wonder what they will have to say to each other. Where is Fish, in fact, actually? He's in 13th spot. He's actually way behind the field. Who's that? It's actually 6 seconds even behind Shalonka. So that is terrible for him. He's got Anderson ahead of him, who's a lap down. So Fish really on a big recovery drive here. He went a long way into that grabber trap as we saw. Obviously lost him lots and lots of time. 14th spot, here it is Becker. Well, 15th spot is Anderson, as you can see. So 15th spot is Anderson, while 13th is Fish, right behind him. So that shows how far Anderson, unfortunately, is down the field. 16th spot is Walensky. Oh no! Oh no! I don't know what accent that was, but oh no! Walensky, he had troubles in the first race after running well, and now had troubles in the second race also. So not a good round for Walensky. 17th spot was Behrens, while we lost Kovalik, of course, from 18th spot. It would have been 18th, of course, at the start of the race. Wazinski still leading from Sebastian Howard. Back to the front of the field. There we are. For SRU. His teammate Jankowski, who's not racing here today. Oh, Sebastian Howard pushing very hard indeed. He races for Audi Motorsports. Audi is his team owner is not racing here today also. So Sebastian Howell looks like he's under pressure here. We didn't see this in the first race. We saw the cool, calm, collected, smooth Sebastian Howell in the first race. This time around we're seeing Sebastian Howell under a bit more pressure, and it's Uzinski taking the fight. Third spot is Stev Aladish. Fourth spot is Abraham. Let's try and find a battle for you on track at the moment. But Hagman was a bit slow out of there, and the gap is a little small between himself and Carlson. Let's just check if Hagman did make a mistake into that turn. Not made a mistake into that turn, but he made a mistake somewhere, because definitely that gap between Hagman and Carlson has come down. Hagman want to hang on to that. Perhaps his hangover is coming home to roost at the moment. It would be so fitting, in fact, actually, if Martin Hagman was from Hanover and his team was called Hangover. That would be too much poetry. I'm sure it's not. The gap now between Uzinski and Hauer is at 1.3 seconds, so it's rising all the time at Uzinski. So it's Uzinski who's putting the schooling on Hauer at the moment. 22 laps is the race. 23 laps, should I say. I'm watching Martin Hagman. As Andreas Carlsen, Schumacher's in 8th spot at the moment. Wyden in 9th. 10th spot is Meisner. He's come under attack from Ryback. Shalonka's in 12th. Is Fish gaining on Shalonka? Let's look for the split as they come across the line. Very, very marginally gaining on Shalonka at the moment. Gained about a second in the last couple of laps. Ryback looks a bit quicker than Meisner at the moment. Looking for a way past. He's back from Stefan Meisner at Ryback. Alongside Kovalek, Meisner and Howard, they make up the drivers, the administrators for Net Racing Europe. 2.7 seconds now the gap between Uzinski and Howard. So Howard's made a mistake in that last lap. Look, it's 1.3 seconds, and Aladish has made the same kind of mistake. Look, he's lost 2 seconds also. So something is happening to second and third spot at the moment. Catching on replay at all. Nothing happening on track at the moment that's urgent. So let's rewind back and find out exactly what's happened to Hauer and Aladish. Aladish has dropped around about 2 seconds, and Hauer about 1.3 seconds. Oh, there's a mistake there from Sebastian Hauer into the hairpin, but surely that's not what's cost him all that time. Here it is. Just on the grass. We've seen there's a couple of times actually from Howard. They might use all of the circuits on entry to corners. Surely that didn't cost him 1.3 seconds. Whatever it is, he's down 2.7 seconds behind Uzinski, who's in firm control of this race. Here he is, just ahead of Hauer. 4 seconds now, the gap between Aladish and Hauer. The gap between Uzinski and Hauer as they come towards the line. Here they come then. There goes Uzinski. The gap is 3 seconds now, so Uzinski definitely has the measure of Hauer in this second race. So Uzinski looking to take his first win of the season. Aladish in third. Fourth spot is Abraham. Here comes fifth spot Anderson. Very spread out in the midfield until you get back towards sixth spot here. And Hagman is under big pressure now from Andreas Carlsen. Schumacher just line there in 8th. Wyden is 9th, where Ryback has still not been able to get past Meisner for that 10th spot. Waiting for the rest of the field to come through. It's Shalonka who's in 12th spot. So plenty of mix-up in this second race. We saw drivers a bit closer in the first race, and there comes the rest of the field. As they come across the line, it looks like Fish actually, in fact. It is, so Fish has got past Shalonka. Made a mistake somewhere, no doubt about that, should I say. Get my words out eventually. Back to live action now. Is charging along. Now Sebastian Hauer knows how Uzinski felt in the first race, because it's the exact opposite of what happened in the first race. Same score, but the positions are switched. Howard did gain a little bit on that lap though, so Uzinski can't afford any mistakes. 8 laps to go. Hagman and Carlson has now broken up quite a bit. Ryback has got past Stefan Meisner, so let's try and catch that on a replay if we can. Rewind back for you. Oh, there's plenty of close racing here. And here, he's obviously got past, but Meisner's not letting him have it back once again, so let's watch this on replay. Here we go. Looking forward from Ryback, went through the hairpin, as you can see. Look back now at Sebastian Meisner, though, who's going to make a couple of moves, or try and make a couple of moves back through once again. Here he comes, putting under big pressure. Meisner teammates with Kovalik, who we lost to a connection issue. Where Meisner put even more pressure on us. I think he's pulled out another few tenths of a second on Sebastian Howard. Aladish is actually gaining on Sebastian Howard at the moment, so that might be a big story in the final couple of laps. 7 laps to go. Meisner was putting big pressure on Martin Ryback. They look like they resolved that now. Back to the option. There you are. Ryback has that 10th spot. But he will be feeling pretty mad with himself. That contact with Anderson, which also cost Matthias Fish. Matthias was looking just to consolidate points. He was at 4th place in the first race. And looking to consolidate points once again. He's got 60 kilos on board, Matthias Fish, for this race, so that won't have improved his mood at all. Driving around way back in the field with 60 kilos on board when he's used to driving at the front, of course. So he did a great job in that first race to take 4th spot, take a decent result with all that weight on board. Looked like he was on form for getting the same kind of result in this second race after he qualified, in 6th spot. But unfortunately, all went to pause in that first corner. Ryback came in contact with Anderson, and then they both spun in synchronization into the gravel trap, and it was, of course, Fish who took the biggest penalty there. Brzezinski still leads by 2.9 seconds. The field. Brzezinski is in 1st spot. Let's go on board with Brzezinski. Swin drive very aggressively earlier in the race. Driver from Poland. And, it's really paid off this time around. I think he's changed in that car. No doubt about that. It's just his self-confidence. He's got the confidence to push that car at the moment. Let's go on board with him and enjoy a lap around this Ruapuna circuit. Beautiful driver circuit. And he's not taking it easy, is he? Pushing very hard indeed. In fact, the only corner I see him being a little bit tentative with is that first turn, not using all of the track, of course. It's so dangerous through there. I know the feeling. When it's a dangerous corner, there's no need, if we're in the lead of the race, there's no need to push right out to the outside, as he's not doing there, of course. We've run a bit wide, though. Missed the camber there. So we're a bit wide in the right-left coming towards the final corner as well, so he's clearly not sitting back at the moment, Darek Kaczynski, but he is holding back Sebastian Hauer, the reigning champion. I'm sure Sebastian won't be, completely upset with what he's doing. He has at least got a first and a second here coming up. If he just holds where he is, I'm sure he would have taken that before the race start. But Kaczynski looks like he's blown away in this second race. Great to see. We heard from Kovalik earlier in the race that some drivers might like to see the back of this track. I'm sure those drivers will be people like Carlson and Anderson, and also Carlson got past Anderson as we were just talking there, and here we are. In fact, Hagman has got up to 5th spot, so that's a big change there, because Carlson, I'm sure, had got past Hagman earlier in the race, and Anderson was ahead of both of them, so Hagman got past Carlson. Carlson, of course, has got past Anderson, but now Anders Carlson is back behind Hagman once again, and on the charge. Board with Carlson. Hagman had a poor race in the first race, well outside the top 10. But this time around, he's been really bang on form. Good qualifying performance and an excellent start to the race. He's looking at a top 5 right now. So, I don't think Carlson has anything to do with it. 7th spot now, sorry, should I say, Anderson. 8th spot is still Schumacher. Schumacher was much closer to Carlson earlier in the race also, so he's not been able to keep speed with Carlson. Carlson is the teammate of Kvyatski, who took the first race. Well, there is Carlson off the track! So Carlson off the track. So earlier in the where's he gone back to now? There he is. He's gone back behind, right back to 10th spot. So 10th spot for Carlson. Go back to him. There he is, 10th spot. So I was just going to say, he's the teammate to Kvyatski, who took the first race win at Kurita, but was not able to attend today. So it's a shame for him. But I'm saying like in the first race, Carlson very aggressive, quite quick, prone to making mistakes, and that is a mistake, no doubt about that. And he's gone from challenging for 5th spot to all the way back to 10th. In front of the field, though, Kaczynski has got a gap of 1.7 seconds now with just 2 laps to go. So that is coming down quite quickly, in fact. So with Sebastian Hauer making a charge, where it's just managing the gap. Carlson is in 10th now, sorry, should I say. Ryback's recovered to 9th. 8th spot is Wyden, whereas 7th spot now is Schumacher, with 6th Anderson, and 5th is Hagman, and it looks like he's going to take a top 5 finish here, which is an excellent result considering his first race performance. There he is. And we're 5th and 8th for the Mercedes cars. I'm very pleased with that indeed. Let's go back to the front of the field though, because he is under pressure here from Sebastian Hauer a little bit. He can't afford to go much slower than he's going right now. This apex there once again. Still 1.8 seconds though, so he's stemmed the gap on this particular lap. Maybe made a small mistake. Maybe just drove a bit conservatively. Either way, so that's 1.8 second gap coming on to this final lap now. Kaczynski looking for his first race win of the season. Hauer's already taken 2 from the first 4 races, and after a sticky weekend at Kurita, but Hauer has fought back very well here indeed. Shalonka there off the track, and he'll get out of the way also of Sebastian Hauer. 3rd place is Aladish. Much improved performance from Aladish in this second race, no doubt about that. The poor first race, finished in 5th spot along with several mistakes. And he's only 5 seconds off the win this time around, so he's pleased with that. But he is running without weight, and really, to mount a title challenge, you have to be beating the people that do have weight. One of those people who does have weight is Sebastian Hauer, so he won't be pleased with that in the big picture. He will be pleased with the improvement from race 1 to race 2 at least. Kaczynski though, he's leading though. It's on his final lap of the race. Polish driver looking to take his first win of the year and the second win for SRU. Eventually taking the first race at Kurita, race 2 of the championship. This is race 5 of the championship, but round 3 at Ruapuna. And here comes Kaczynski. Kaczynski's going to take the win. He's going to beat the reigning champion this time around. Well done to Darek Kaczynski. A great performance from him. Put the pressure on early, drove aggressively, and took away the lead. And from there on, he just pulled away from Sebastian Hauer. Role reversal from race 1. Superb stuff from also from Sebastian Hauer. First and a second with 21 kilos on board. And it's a very tight and twisty circuit, which really harms it when he's got weight on board, of course. Third spot for Aladish. Fourth spot for Marcel Abraham. Fifth spot, is going to be Martin Hagman. He'll be very pleased with that. He's dropped back a little bit, actually. In fact, punches of sixth spot, Anderson. Seventh spot for Carsten Schumacher. Good result for him after spinning a couple of times in the first race. So he's improved immeasurably. Eighth spot for Wyden once again, actually. In fact, that's 2 8 spots for Wyden, but very different stories, it seems. Ninth spot for Ryback. Well, 10th spot was Andreas Carlsen, challenging so close early on. 12th spot for Sebastian Meisner. 13th, that's it, 11 spots for Sebastian Meisner. 12th spot for Fish, the unfortunate Fish, taken out by his own teammate at the first corner. While 13th spot was Shalonka. Persevered, took that 14th spot, he's about to finish his race still. 14th spot for Becker here, I think it is. Yes, it is Becker there. 15th spot for the other Anderson. On 16th, 17th, Behrens and Walensky did not finish the race, and Ben Kowalski didn't even start the race. So, big commiserations to those drivers. But congratulations to Azinski and congratulations to Sebastian Hauer. He reaffirms himself as the championship contender after Fish's problems, and a great performance from Sebastian Hauer here today. Apologies for the problems in that first race, but hopefully that second race made up for it. A flawless display from both commentator and drivers. Flawless, I say. But it was very good action indeed, and good to see Azinski break the monopoly of Hauer in that race as well. I really thought that Hauer would take complete charge in that race, but it was Azinski who came straight back once again. Make sure you tune in next time for round 4 of the GT3 Masters 2013 Championship from Net Racing Europe, and of course make sure you like them on Facebook as well, and you keep up to date with all the rest of the races that they've got coming up. I've been Ryan Callan, thank you for watching, congratulations to the drivers, and I'll see you next time.